Hi guys, good evening. My name is Victory Osarunwense. Welcome to Financial Jaga Jaga. So to be very honest, I did not know I was going to do another video on on crude oil again. I just thought, you know what, I'll just move on till I see something more interesting. But guys, I saw something very interesting that happened on Monday. The headline was WTI crude oil was now trading at minus $37 per barrel. And I was just like, it was on everybody's Instagram, maybe not everybody, some people's Instagram stories, WhatsApp status. In fact, I saw this very funny picture of hand sanitizer and a barrel of crude oil, and the person was saying hand sanitizer is now more valuable than crude oil. That was so funny. So a lot of people reached out to me, and I'm like, you know what, let me just speak to this. And I've done my research, and I believe I can actually say some things and maybe that will make people learn or understand what actually is going on, or what happened in the market. So I know that I've done 2 videos already on this whole crude oil thing, and one of the things I mentioned was that there are different brands of crude oil that's traded in the international market. I talked about the WTI, and that one is specific to the United States. I talked about the Brent, that one is specific to the UK. But one thing I did not mention is that we have our own category of crude oil. The most popular one is called Bonny Light, right? Another thing I think you should know is that our crude oil, I'll just be saying Bonny Light when I talk about Nigerian crude oil because that's the most popular. So for Bonny Light, it is benchmarked to the Brent crude oil. So Brent it's a very popular brand of oil. It's easy to get, it's easy to buy and ship, right? So as a Nigerian crude oil producer or seller, when I want to sell my Bonny Light, I'll have to look at Brent and say, okay, how much is Brent trading at? Oh, Brent is $20 per barrel. Okay, I'll sell my own at 18. That's what it means when I say Nigeria's Bonny Light is benchmarked to the Brent. So what happened was that on Monday, headline, WTI crude oil was now negative. It's very important to know that yes, WTI was negative, but Brent was not negative. Bonny Light was not negative. So everybody that was saying, we are in trouble, the economy is doomed, please calm down, guys, calm down. So I'll just like to first talk about how crude oil is even traded in the international market. So first of all, when people just say crude oil is traded, crude oil is this, crude oil is that, but it's actually called crude oil futures contract. So this is how it works basically. I want to buy crude oil, right, in the futures market. What I would do is I'm going to say I want to buy a barrel of crude oil for $20 in the future, let's say May. That would be called a May contract. So I would determine that I want to buy it at $20 per barrel. I will enter into an agreement with somebody, and then that will be the price. So the thing is, when the contract is now supposed to mature, it's going to mature in April. So May contracts will mature in April. So May contracts were supposed to mature mature on the 21st of April. Now the thing is, remember I locked in a price. Based me, I just looked and I said, oh, I think I want to buy this at $20 per barrel. Based on, I look around, I look at the economy, and I'm like, oh, I want to buy at $20 per barrel. The person accepted and said it's a signed deal. When the contract now expires or matures, if it's a WTI crude oil futures I bought, they would deliver that crude oil to me in a particular station called Cushing in Oklahoma, right? I would actually receive the 1 barrel of crude oil there, and I have to go take it or do whatever it is I want to do with it. Note that, very important. Now, if it is a Brent crude oil futures contract I signed, something will happen called a cash settlement. So instead of, I will not necessarily receive that barrel of crude oil. When the day comes, we'll look at it and say, oh, I said that I want to buy crude oil at $20 per barrel, but today crude oil is now $25 per barrel. So that person will now give me my $5. So because I said I was going to buy it at $20, so it means I already have the $20 with me. So that person will give me that $5. Then me, I will take my own 20, the 5 he has given me, then I will go somewhere else to look for the oil by myself, meaning I do not necessarily have to receive the barrel of crude oil based on the agreement. I hope that's clear. So now that I've even explained how this whole crude oil futures contract works, let me explain why the WTI was negative. Because that same day WTI was negative, but Brent was not negative. It was like $25 per barrel, and everybody was wondering what's going on. How can WTI be negative but Brent won't be negative? Now this is why WTI was negative, because a lot of people, and when I say crude oil, I'm talking about the earliest the earliest maturity. So when people say crude oil price, they're not just saying generally, they're talking about the earliest maturity. So when I say crude oil price today, I'll be talking about the June contract. But on Monday, they were referring to the May contract. So on that Monday, a lot of people, the crude oil May contract was supposed to mature on Tuesday. So a lot of people were scared, because the thing is, you're supposed to get your barrels of crude oil that you want to buy, right? So a lot of people were scared that there's a particular storage space that all the WTI crude oil will go to, and that place is full. There's no more space to store crude oil. So everybody was like, if I actually wait for this thing to mature tomorrow, Tuesday, it means that I will not have a space to keep the crude oil that I signed, and that will even be more expensive for me, because I have to start looking for storage space. No one is going to buy the crude oil, so the people literally start paying other people to take delivery of their crude oil, so that they will not be obligated, they will not be, suffering trying to find a space to keep the crude oil. And so that was why WTI went negative. But because of the way Brent crude oil is settled, you don't necessarily have to have physical delivery. Even if you're having physical delivery, it can be delivered in it, and doesn't necessarily have to be that particular space. There are different places they can deliver the Brent crude oil to you. So that is why WTI was negative. So please calm down. WTI was negative, Brent wasn't negative. So Nigerians, we do not really have anything to worry about. Like the level of panic that caused was, for a Nigerian, I'm supposed to look at Brent, not necessarily WTI, although it's very. So currently, at least as at the time this video is being made, the June contract WTI is actually at $16.9 per barrel. Brent is currently at $21 per barrel, and then the Bonny Light is at $16 per barrel. That is the June contract. Now WTI June contract is not negative, so everybody calm down. And it's not negative yet, because people have hope. People are thinking that the people who are holding that contract are thinking that, at least before June is over, maybe they will lift lockdown, and a lot of companies may resume operations. So the oil that has been stored in Oklahoma will probably go out to the industry. Like, there will be space basically to store the crude oil that will mature in the June contract basically. So guys, just calm down. That was a very interesting thing that happened, because it has never happened in the history of the crude oil business ever before. So the panic was actually understandable. So now, bringing it home, I think the only issue we are having now in the Nigerian oil market is the fact that I mentioned that Bonny Light currently is at $16 per barrel, but the local Nigerian crude oil producers are complaining that in order for them to meet their operating expenses, they need to sell crude oil at $35 per barrel or $40 per barrel. So it just means that they are already operating at a loss, and they are literally sitting out with their hearts open, praying for a miracle, praying for this whole lockdown to end, praying for industries to resume. So let's just sit tight and see what happens. And I really just wanted to talk about WTI and explain, the technicalities that happened and what led to the negative price basically. And I hope I've actually been able to speak on that. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Financial Jaga Jaga. My name remains Victory. Bye.